Let's explore a little further how irrational it actually is to worry about tomorrow, and we'll do it with a little bit of philosophical reflection here. Time is a very mysterious part of reality that is, quite frankly, very difficult to comprehend. Have you ever tried to define time, the concept of time? What is time? I'm not asking what is the time. I'm asking what is time? Take a moment yourself and try to define the concept of time. Just think through your head. How would you do that? It's very, very challenging. Augustine, the 4th century theologian, said that what then is time? If no one asks me, I know what it is. If I wish to explain to him who asks, I do not know. It's one of those things where you kind of just know what it is, but it's very difficult to put into words. One philosopher said that time is that which keeps everything from happening all at once. And that's about as good of a definition as any. Time is that which keeps everything from happening all at once. God made us to be creatures who live within the bounds of space and time. We are temporal creatures. It's how we relate to each other. It's how we go about our day-to-day lives. It's how we even relate to God. We do not experience the future, and we do not experience the past, except for the way in which we remember it. We only experience the present moment. So we must ask then, what exactly is the thing that we are worrying about when we are worrying about the future? What actually is it that is causing us fear and anxiety and worry? Imagine there was a ship captain who was deathly afraid of the horizon. Deathly afraid of the horizon. You know, he takes out his telescope, he looks into the distance, he sees the horizon, anxiety and worry fills his mind. Now, apart from obviously choosing the wrong career path here, what is our ship captain failing to recognize? What is he failing to grasp? That the horizon, it's not an actual concrete object, is it? It's an abstraction. The closer you get to it, the further it gets from you. Once you get to where the horizon was, well, it's no longer the horizon anymore, is it? Our ship captain is fearing nothing except his own imagination and his own thoughts. He's really fearing nothing at all. He's fearing no thing. The horizon is a fitting illustration of the future. The future doesn't exist either. As you get close to it, it gets further from you. Once tomorrow arrives, well, it's no longer tomorrow, is it? Now it has become today. The future will forever remain a distant horizon, nothing more than a concept in our mind. Now, we have a name for irrational fears. You know what they're called? Phobias. Does anybody have a phobia of this? I can see people cringing actually out there. Arachnophobia, they called it. They even made a movie called Arachnophobia back in the 1990s, and I saw it as a kid, and I dreamt of spiders for weeks. So don't ever see that movie if you have a fear of spiders. But I kind of have arachnophobia, as I think most people actually do. There are a few people who just love holding them in their hand, and it's totally weird. But I have no rational explanation for why I am scared of spiders, except for I just think they're nasty. There's no other good reason. You ever see one in the corner of your room, and then you look back 2 minutes later and it's gone? And then you're like, oh, well, now we have to burn the whole house down. I just don't like spiders. I don't want them near me. I think they're amazing creatures, you know, but I just don't want them near me, and I especially don't want them on me. You know, it's kind of this freak out thing that happens. Arms will be flailing. Now, I wish they all looked like this. Isn't that a cute spider? No, some people say. It's weird to put cute and spider in the same sentence, but I kind of think that's a cute spider. I wish they all looked like that, but unfortunately they don't. We actually have one on our back porch. Well, we did in the summertime. It looked a little bit like this. It was this cute little spider, and Jen named him Maurice. But most spiders don't look like this. They look like that, except maybe a little bit smaller, thankfully. But here's the thing about spiders. There are 43,000 species of spider, and only 30 of them are venomous. That's 0.069%. And most of them that are venomous are completely harmless to humans. The odds of being injured by a spider are next to nothing. You have greater odds of being injured by a chihuahua. Yet we don't really fear chihuahuas. There are other phobias as well. There is, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, ophidiophobia, which is the fear of snakes. Most snakes are harmless. There's aerophobia, the fear of flying. The odds of dying in a plane crash are 1 in 11 million. That's 0.00000% chance of dying in a plane crash. Ablutophobia, the fear of bathing. I'm very happy I don't have this, and I think Jen's probably even happier than I am that I don't have this. I wouldn't be married if I had it. There's glossophobia, the fear of public speaking. In a survey I once saw, more people were afraid of public speaking than they were of death itself. Jerry Seinfeld once said that people would rather be in the coffin than giving a eulogy at the funeral. Each of these is an irrational fear because the object that is feared poses no or very little threat. But notice still, each one of these objects still exists. Spiders exist, snakes exist, bathing exists, airplanes exist. To worry about the future is even worse because the future does not even exist. It poses less of a threat than spiders. It's more, if anything, like a fear of the boogeyman under your bed. In fact, that probably would have been a good sermon title, Boogeyman for Grownups. Worry of events that have yet to even take place is a fear not of present realities, but really just of possibilities. It's a fear of nothing but our own imagination. And imagination, unfortunately, has the power over reason. The only thing that is actually real is this present moment right now. And let me ask you this. How is the present moment right now? How are you right now? You may be like, oh, well, right now work is not going so well. But you're not working right now. How are you now? This is a question we should always be asking ourselves. Whenever we feel our minds going to the troubles of tomorrow, just ask yourself, yeah, but how am I right now? And unless you're currently going through some tragedy, or if you're sitting on a dentist chair getting a root canal, then 9 times out of 10, I bet it's going to be pretty good. I bet it's going to be pretty good. But our worry of tomorrow prevents us from enjoying the blessings of today. When I was at Andrews University, I liked to do a lot of extracurricular reading. And Jen picked up this book for me at a bookstore sale. This is one of those books where, it's a little book, one of those books that changes your life. You know, we all kind of have like those top 10 books on our bookshelves that just changed your life. To me, this was one. It's called The Practice of the Presence of God. Now, this is not some like new agey book about just being in tune with the universe or anything like that. It was actually written by a 17th century monk named Brother Lawrence. He spent his life in a Parisian community working in the kitchen as a cook and repairing sandals for the community. Brother Lawrence, this humble man, became quite famous for achieving what most people never are able to achieve in life. Truly experiencing the presence of God at every moment in life. And this is his testimony. This is his instruction to the world through a correspondence of letters. He spent years disciplining his heart and his mind to yield to God's presence. And he said this, "As often as I could, I placed myself as a worshiper before him, fixing my mind upon his holy presence, recalling it when I found it wandering from him. This proved to be an exercise frequently painful, yet I persisted through all difficulties." It's not something that's easy to accomplish. It takes a lot of discipline to do, yet Brother Lawrence, more than many people in this world, was able to do it. What we consider to be mundane and repetitive, routine activities were for Brother Lawrence avenues for experiencing the incredible love and presence of God. He immersed himself into the mind of God, regardless of what was going on, regardless of where he was or what he was doing. He cooked meals with God. He ran errands with God. He scrubbed pots with God. He endured the scorn of the world with God. He said that when he would finish work and then he would retire to his home to enter into worship and personal devotion, that for him, he was not entering into a new phase of activity. He was continuing doing what he had been doing all day. He didn't compartmentalize his spiritual life the way we tend to do today, where we have our spiritual life, and we have our work life, we have our family life, and then we have our leisure life and our vacation life. To Brother Lawrence, it was all spiritual life. And he said, There is not in the world a kind of life more sweet and delightful than that of a continual conversation with God. Only those who practice and experience it can comprehend it. Something that's very difficult to describe, something I certainly couldn't say, still working on it myself, but only you can only taste and see that the Lord is good. So for Brother Lawrence, he was able to turn even the most commonplace and menial of tasks into a hymn to the glory of God. Now, the presupposition behind Brother Lawrence's work is that God is present now, at this very moment. You are currently immersed in the love and the presence of God as though it were just you and him. No matter what are you doing, no matter what you are doing, no matter where you are, God's with you as though it were just you and him. As we begin to close, and I can go ahead and call the worship team to come up, as we begin to close, you may have noticed that a key word has been strangely absent from this sermon, even though the sermon to a large degree is about that one word. The word is faith. In modern pop theology, the opposite of faith is often characterized as doubt. If you have a lot of faith, then you will not be doubting. If you're doubting a lot, well, then you just don't have a lot of faith. But that is a mischaracterization. The opposite of certainty is doubt, and we are never commanded in the Bible to have absolute certainty. The opposite of faith is not doubt, but worry and fear. Often you see these juxtaposed in Scripture. Jesus will say, why are you fearing? Are you of little faith? Faith and fear are mutually exclusive in the Bible. The more you have of one, the less you will have of the other, because one displaces the other. So when Jesus says that if you seek God's kingdom first, all these things will be provided for you, do you believe that? When Jesus says that God cares more for you than the lilies of the field or the birds of the air, do you believe that? When it is said that all things work for good for those who believe and love God, do you believe that? And are you ready to live as though those beliefs are true? There's a saying we often hear, live as though every day is your last. And it's a bit cliche, isn't it? But I still think that there is a powerful truth behind this saying. If you lived as though every day were your last, what would it look like? If you lived as though today were your last day, how would it be different than every other day? You would probably make plans. You would get your affairs in order, but those plans wouldn't be for you any longer. They would be for others. You certainly wouldn't worry about tomorrow. You're not going to be here for tomorrow. Those concerns wouldn't trouble you anymore. You would likely spend that time cherishing those final hours with your family, with your loved ones. You would likely enter deep into prayer in a way that you have never prayed before. If you knew it was going to be your last day, then I can almost guarantee that on that day at least, you would be present like you've never been present before. So I have a challenge for you. It's an assignment, if you will. I think you'll like it, though. This next week, find a free hour. Maybe I should restate that. Make a free hour, because you probably won't just find one laying around. Make a free hour, and in that free hour, just be present. Maybe it's on your sofa, maybe it's in your den, in your living room. Maybe you prefer to take a walk in the woods, if you're warm. Leave your phone in the other room, put on some light music, grab a cup of tea, whatever it is that makes you comfortable. And for that 1 hour, be present. Immerse yourself in the present moment, and more importantly, immerse yourself in the presence of God. Think about Jesus and all he's done. Think about him in your life. Think about all those that you love and who love you. Think about the incredible life that God has given to you. And think about how silly it is to worry about things that are just probably going to happen anyways. Think about that moment that you are currently experiencing and how it is radically unique, so unique that that moment will never repeat itself, not even in eternity. It is a gift from God to you. Cherish that gift.